I'll bring the meeting to order at 8:31 a.m. on February 6th, 2024. Feels like April 6th outside. Certification of open meeting law requirements have been met. Hi, Bob. We'll have a roll call of committee members. Nutter here.
Petrick here.
Becker here.
Waldera here.
Adams here.
Lori here.
Sorry here.
Oh, and I heard Jean too. Okay, good. We're all here. I would call for a motion to approve the agenda.
Yeah, I'll also move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did everybody have a chance to review our minutes from January 2nd? Are there any corrections, additions? I always look to you, Dawn.
No, I make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Great, thank you guys. We will have 3 to 4 minutes of public comment. I see we have a public here.
Yes.
If you are out in the world, the phone number to call in this room is 715-538-1894.
We're not live though, are we?
No.
So nobody's gonna call in.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll just hand it over to our special guest today who may have a public comment.
I have a public comment, yes. I'm here on behalf of the Beaches Corners Community Association and related to the CapEx fund item on the agenda. I know that there is no official acceptance of requests at this time or anything related to those funds. However, the Beaches Corner Community Organization operates the beach school and the associated property with it as a park for the public, and in relation to those funds, they have some projects that would meet the CapEx 2020 criteria for those funds, and we'd like to, put out a request. There's a sewer system there that needs to be replaced. This organization's been run by community members for approximately 30 years, trying to maintain the old schoolhouse there as well as provide a public space in the community. With that, we've got some budget numbers back on replacing the sewer system there. Because it is a public facility, it needs some additional treatment parameters beyond a traditional residential system. We're getting numbers back in the range of like $50,000 for a sewer system there. And additionally, the park equipment that's there is what's original to the school, where it's not really functional anymore. And we'd like to update that park equipment. So moving forward with plans, I guess, we would like that to be in the back of PTED's mind on how they're proceeding on things, and request that, anything that comes up that may help us with those projects, we could have some consideration of.
Okay. There was also an email.
Jeannie.
Yes?
Identify who he is so I can put his name in my notes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I should have introduced myself. I forgot you couldn't see me. Emery Palmer.
He's a county board supervisor.
As well as
Okay,
a community
thank you.
member in town of Ettrick.
Okay. And
I got a question.
sure.
Mr. Chair. Did they get any money out of the first CapEx money?
They did not.
The township or Beaches Corner did the whole thing, did nothing?
We're gonna talk about this later in the agenda. I've got a whole list for everybody of everybody that got funded and didn't get funded. The only thing I'm gonna say is, and I think Jeannie was gonna say it, we got an email from some folks in Trempealeau wanting some consideration of some money to help design a trail around it. I think it was Second Lake. And they had asked if they could come present to PTED County Board. And my response, which I think was appropriate, but if not, scold me, was that this was going to be coming back before PTED, a discussion of where the money would even go and what process, what it would be used for, and then go back to the county board. So I thought it was a little bit premature. But what I did offer those folks was our assistance, with seeing if there's any grants that they might be able to apply for that we could help which would potentially help fund their project, even if there was no CapEx money. And, you know, I'm gonna make the strong argument that the CapEx money should stay with the park, with Patriot Park, but other people are gonna have different opinions, and, you know, ultimately it's the county board that will decide. I would make that same offer to your group.
And I would
That-
certainly appreciate
Help identify some
any
grants and
funding
stuff.
sources if
Yeah.
any can be identified, yes.
So, just, that presents a couple of paths to maybe get to what you wanna do.
Yeah.
You have a question, Bob?
Yeah, what do you use the school for at Beach's Corner in your facility? Like a little wayside where people can stop and say have a picnic lunch, let your kids run around?
There is an art studio currently in there that's being utilized, and then the grounds are open to the general public at any point in time. And the playground equipment's kind of decrepit that's there just because it's from, I assume, the 30s or so. And it's one of those slides that goes up at the end, you know?
Yeah,
Years
yeah.
old almost.
Back when they were fun.
Yeah.
But they burned your height.
Yeah, but it goes, it's not supposed to go up, but it does.
Just to refresh your memory, I'll identify what under section 16.969A, a county, town, or village or city that receives a distribution under sub 3B may use distribution only for parks, conservancy, wetlands, or other similar environmental programs. And the Department of Administration identified these examples: park, conservation, wetland programs. Specific specific examples of programs could include park improvement projects, purchase of property for conservation or environmentally significant sites, improvement of wetlands, purchase of additional wetlands, or return of a land to a wetland designation. Additional programs could prevent the introduction or limit the spread of invasive species, plants, or animals, or other such programs to limit adverse impacts of high voltage transmission lines or compensate for lines. And just a reminder, cities, villages, and towns do get this money annually and will for Lord knows how long.
And on that note, I know we are in the public comment period. I am happy to stay any additional comments or conversation related to this that you might have questions for me until it's on the agenda.
Okay. Normally we just listen to public comment and we don't get feedback, but I just I'll just let people talk today.
Yeah, and I did not necessarily intend.
Okay. Yeah, I know you wanted
feedback.
to.
I just wanted to get that in public comment since I knew there was an agenda item related to it.
Thank you.
So thank you.
I appreciate that. Any other questions? Any other things? I know there's a lot of fishing contests coming up, and it's questionable what the lakes are going to be like, but I know Leave a Strom Saturday, they're still going to have it no matter what and do all the fun stuff, so.
The Strom's not gonna allow fishing.
No, there's no fishing there.
Fishing for kids inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
But they're gonna have their, my
Right,
husband's in
right.
charge of it, so they're having, they have everything all set up. So, but there's nobody to hear me except you guys, but.
It'll be aired eventually.
It'll be fun,
Probably
it'll be
after the-
sunny, it'll be,
Yeah.
so. No snowmobiling, but that's another story. Okay, any other things? Alrighty. We will move on to discussion of ways
No,
to.
item 7.
7.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Jean, this is you, the Great River Road update. Thank you guys.
Good morning, everybody. In regards to the Wisconsin Great River Road, we are finishing up the 2024 visitor guide that will be printed late February, early March, and then it will be ready for distribution. I will make sure that Dave and I hook up since he lives down here. We can meet up and I can give him some boxes so he can distribute. Really excited. There is a new director for the Wisconsin Department in Tourism. Her name is Cassie Mordini. She has worked in the Office of the Outdoor Recreation For a couple years, she knows that there's 72 counties in the state of Wisconsin. She already has the full support of silent sport organizations and ATV, motorcycle, snowmobile associations. She's worked with all of them. Already has exciting things planned that people will be able to find more information out and utilize the outdoor recreation. They're putting on an event in April in partnership with the Wisconsin Bike Federation, teaching more people about outdoors and exercise. And I'm really, really excited about it for everybody to get that information. Monroe County is doing a new economic development and tourism conference in March. Dave, you probably get that information from MRRPC.
Yep.
That I think would be a good idea for to go to. It's really cool that they're starting that back up, and there's really good information there. Unfortunately, because as you just said, the lack of snow, a lot of events along the river either had to be rescheduled, canceled, or they're holding the event and just changing up the event so they can still have things for the kids and whatever, which I think is great, because obviously we want to continue to support all of our communities and children and events and parents and whatever. We are continuing to work with the partnership with Wisconsin Department of Transportation for the Discover Wisconsin project that will be debuting in May and June, and I'll be able to provide you more information with that when we get closer, and then the invites for that. And that is it for now.
Hey, Jean, so Ann Sayers is no longer the director? She did say that's correct? Okay. Where did Ann go? Anybody know? No.
Oh, no, Secretary Sayers is there.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. All right.
Was the director
thank you.
of the outdoor rec.
I misunderstood. I thought you said secretary of, okay, good. All right. I just wondered.
In the office.
Okay. We need to get Ann up here. She said she wanted to come, so maybe we should invite her to a meeting.
Well, they will have to get on the form and fill it out. She's booked, so you'll have to kind of decide when you'd like her to come up, and get ahead right now and get on her calendar, because I know it's a tough one.
Yep.
So
I know she has told me she wanted to come up here, so.
great.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jean. I really appreciate your update. Lots of good stuff. The next one I'm going to throw to Mike. Mike, he's not here. Dave, discussion of ways to increase visibility function of Trempealeau County Tourism website.
So that was supposed to be Tim Robertson coming
where
today.
is he? Oh.
And he is out today. He's
Okay.
having some back spasms.
Ooh.
So he's going to have to slide another month.
Okay, we'll put it on in March then.
Yep.
Discussion of 2024 economic development and tourism work plans.
Let me see if I can share my screen here. It was included in your packets. Through the magic of technology, we've got it up on the screen here, so that's cool. All right. Sometimes things work.
Magic.
So because we do have a kind of lengthy agenda here, and because it was in the packet, I'll just kind of go through this quickly. First, the economic development portion of the plan. Obviously, a big focus in continuing our business retention and expansion, or BRE, and recruitment visits. We've been using some of the information developed from previous visits to be able to help refine the questions and then go back for second visits with a lot of these businesses and identify more specific things that they might need that we might be able to help with. Another item that's a holdover from last year's work plan is continuing to work to see if we can access more grant and loan funds for Trempealeau County businesses. During the past 12 months, I've had some good conversations with 2 or 3 lenders about this, and specifically about possibly helping capitalize a local revolving loan fund. I think that this is the year that that could come together. Because the problem we've got right now is we don't have a local, like Trempealeau County only, revolving loan fund. A lot of counties do, a lot of communities do, or have had them in the past. Usually they were funded by community development block grant dollars, but about 5-6 years ago, the state of Wisconsin took back those CDBG revolving loan funds from a lot of communities because there was just some issues that the state wanted to control with, reporting and record keeping back to the federal money, because those are federal monies.
Some counties used some counties did
Correct.
use ARPA funds.
Some counties, some municipalities did use ARPA funds to help capitalize revolving loan funds. And I would definitely be asking the county for that, except I always hear that they're committed to the Justice Center and to the remodel. So, but going forward, what I want to see is if we could maybe pull together, a couple $100,000, say, in private capitalization from local financials or local industries, and then find a match for that from some programs. Like Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation has a program that'll match your local dollars that you put in to capitalize a revolving loan fund. It does have a requirement, that particular program called Capital Catalyst, that you give out part of the money in grants. So say you capitalized a $500,000 grant program with $250,000 local match, $250,000 from WEDC, 10% of that, or $50,000, would have to be given out in grants to like startup or second stage businesses, and then the rest of the money would be loaned out. And when it was repaid, then that local entity, like in our case, Trempealeau County, would have all of that money, including the match that the state put in. You got to loan it out first and have it repaid, and then it would be 100%. So that's just an example of how one could be formulated. Obviously, strengthening ties with local governments continues to be a priority. Over the last 6 to 9 months, I think, kind of had a little bit of a breakthrough here with some of our communities. I've been doing quite a bit with the city of Osseo and city of Arcadia. Osseo, and I know this is our work plan, but I want to kind of report along as we go along too. I did work with the city of Osseo, and we Trempealeau County put in an application with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation to have a initiative under the Wisconsin Thrive Rural Wisconsin initiative that the Office of Rural Prosperity at WEDC is doing. And I thought we wrote a really good application to work on some problems with housing and so on. And they had 32 communities apply to be in this first cohort of these Thrive Rural Wisconsin communities, so Osseo did not make it. However, the communication I got from WTCO yesterday indicated that they are going to take another look at their resources and maybe add some communities to the program. So, but that's just the kind of thing I'm working with some of these local communities on. Building relationships with local chambers and business development groups. Again, my goal is to try to help, with formation of groups where they don't exist. Work to develop cooperation between the chambers on more county-wide issues. Obviously, I've got here, City of Osseo and City of Galesville are both considering becoming Connect communities through Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. So I'll be helping get their applications in and facilitate their involvement in that program. And then I already mentioned this, submitting the application to WEDC, for specific economic development initiatives in Osseo. Housing is still on there. Obviously, it's going to continue to be on there forever until we solve it, which we'll never solve it probably because we want to continue to grow. Osseo, Arcadia, and Galesville are the ones most active right now in talking about housing. I think it's going to be important this year to identify an entity that can perform a housing study. And last year I had on that we should do a countywide housing study, and then there didn't seem to be a lot of traction on that with local communities. And then in the last quarter, basically, of the year, these 3 communities specifically have kind of found some motivation to take a look at that. So I think we're back to where identifying some resources to do a countywide housing study is just gonna be best.
Melissa Kono she must have heard us talk about this at a previous meeting, that there was a housing study done when she was working at Western Dairyland. So.
Yeah, I've seen that. I'm sure it was good work. We need something that's current,
Okay,
and we need something that's more comprehensive.
okay. Well, it might be
And-
good to partner with
Yeah,
them, because
yeah.
they do a lot of,
Yes, and
Housing
yes,
stuff.
and my plan on this, and again, it's not to get into the weeds on it, but my plan is to convene a meeting with Mississippi River Regional Planning Commission, Extension, Western Dairyland, anybody else that we think might be, broad level, have some input into how we could put together a housing study.
Okay. Hey.
What resources those entities might be able to provide versus what we need to hire out.
okay. Is the Habitat house completed in Arcadia?
When I went by it, because I live in Arcadia, I think it's getting close, but I don't think it's officially done.
I mean, that's another, I was kind of involved with that in the beginning, but that's another group that because that was the first one in Trempealeau County, which kind of surprised me.
Right. And housing is on the ELU agenda for Friday, because with Mike leaving, I just want to make sure that we have some continuity with this. Because Mike was kind of handling that with ELU, and he's gone. I want to pick that up and work with ELU to get some specific things going that we can work on, getting towards, tackling the housing issue.
Okay, good.
Broadband access continues to be a priority. Continuing to work with Trempealeau, Buffalo, Pepin, and Pierce as a group. That's economic development. Anybody have any questions before we go into tourism?
I was gonna ask, you're talking about the housing, there's other cities here in Trempealeau County that have housing, or lots for sale. They've got them all developed. Is there any programs out there to give them any kind of, like a stimulate somebody to come in and buy a lot or build a house, any assistance? Because you're talking to communities that don't have maybe something available over here. This is already there. Somebody wants to build a house, you've got the infrastructure, you've got everything right there.
Sure.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
Habitat's good for that. They bought the lot in Arcadia.
Yeah, the other thing I didn't put on here, but I've actually had conversations with a few housing developers in the last month to 6 weeks. And I think those would be, obviously where I know about lots being available, that's being mentioned to them. But, we certainly could work together to, create that inventory and have it just easily accessible to prospective builders and stuff.
Going back to your work plan,
Yeah.
is there a way to put some sort of a, either an end goal for each of these bullet points, which I'm sure you feel is probably obvious, but I really, in my experience with working with work plans or this type of thing, sometimes identifying the specific goal can be really helpful, especially when things potentially get muddy, as they usually do. Like, people get questions, and then would this particular thing fit under this category? And it's like, well, let's look at our goal here, and what we targeted for our goal was this, so let's table that or bring that somewhere else.
Sure.
Help be a little less muddy. And then, are there timelines we can put to any of this? At 2024, perfect, but is there a goal for when we're going to meet with the local lenders? Is there a timeline for when we're going to meet with the other townships, like?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I could certainly go back and, try and put some of those together.
That's what I'd like to see us do, and this is just a suggestion for the committee, but I kind of would like to look at this work plan at every meeting and say, where are we at with working toward our work plan? I feel like we bring our work plans forward and then they're kind of done. Not that you're not doing the work
Sure.
to get there, but I want to see it.
Yeah.
I love it, yeah, that'd be great.
I think the other thing maybe too, just in addition, is how do you prioritize these?
Right.
And along with your comment, think you're spot on. And what are the most important things that are going to get us further down the road here? The other issue that I didn't see on here, Dave, that kind of relates right to the housing one, and maybe there's another place in a different county committee working on it. It's not only economic security for our county residents, it's food security is a bigger deal. I think that kind of gets brushed aside, but we can't have hungry people out there. And I bring that up because I just know in our field we have a couple of food events monthly, and the amount of people just needing food is incredible in the county.
So it's an issue that Human Services is, our two committees, the ADRC and DHS, are very involved in, especially ADRC.
Public health.
Public health too, but ADRC, we have a huge nutrition program, and so it's constantly being addressed in those two committees.
Yeah, I do think that is being well addressed. Well,
it's
addressed
addressed
as well as it can be at this point.
Right.
In another committee buzz, but it does definitely impact economic development for sure. So it's a good point.
Yep. Okay. Anything else on economic development before we steer to tourism? Okay. So we'll go on to tourism here. I think it's really important, and we certainly can pin a date on any and all of these things going forward. But to have this countywide tourism summit together and put into Trempealeau County destination marketing efforts, including identifying potential new events that we might be able to seek state funding, like a joint effort marketing or GEM grant for. Develop and implement a social media plan. And really, social media plan is kind of a misnomer. I should have labeled this marketing plan, because the social media plan is part of a broader marketing plan. But the goal is to increase the number of people following our primary social media channels, and then increase the size of our internal email database, which we do through our Robley program, which we can use for direct visitor information. And then exploring the feasibility or benefit of expanding social media channels.
That's awesome. This is a good job that you've done here so far, Dave. And one of the things I'd like to say is that I think it is important that timeline is critical and important, and we should all be able to help you with that as well too. So make sure that you're saying hey guys, can you get out some brochures at this event in your area or whatever, so that we can all get in there and help you out as well.
Got it. Thanks. And there'll be more on the social media plan or the marketing plan a little later in the meeting here.
Okay.
Obviously, this one I continued over because it was on my plan last year, but it's on Jack's this year with working with the Park and Rec Coordinator, increase the promotion and utilization of Patriot Park, including forming the Friends Group, working with Jack to implement elements of the Trempealeau County Outdoor Rec Plan and Patriot Park Master Plan. We'll continue to look at grant opportunities for necessary infrastructure like trailheads, canoe kayak launch, new trail development, the bridge that we're scoping out right now for crossing the Trempealeau River to open up that parkland at Patriot on the east side. Overseeing the contract with SRF Consulting for design of the Patriot Park Rec Pond and that bridge location study I just mentioned. And then overseeing the actual construction of the rec pond, including development of the RFP process, selection of contractor, reviewing progress, etc.
I think maybe on that one, I want to just remind everyone that when we went with SRF Consulting for design, one of the reasons we specifically wanted to go with them is because their design and consideration was well beyond the recreational pond to ensure that we were looking at the overall park design. So I don't want to lose that, because I'm expecting to see more from them than just recreational pond information.
Yes, and we have a special meeting next
Yes.
Tuesday, and they've got some design concepts that they will share that really, I think you'll be happy with, because they've got not only, you know, the ideas for the rec pond, but for that corridor sort of extending from the Schenck property through to where like the existing observation deck is out there by the river. That would include new concepts for playground equipment, etc.
Then I would just, I guess I would just suggest in the work plan that we broaden the language there, and
Yeah.
then, let's look at, how does the group feel about, taking some time to maybe prioritize some of this work? It's a lot of work, and there's a lot of moving pieces and small things that happen probably on a daily or weekly basis toward every one of these things.
Yeah.
But if you were asked to, you know, focus more on one thing than another thing, how do we direct the work back to what we as a group maybe have identified as the priorities?
Are you talking park
That's a good
specific?
idea.
Are you talking park specifically?
No, just your work
Okay,
plan.
so, yeah, I mean, it's a good discussion to have. I think what you're gonna find is that things are going to shift around because certain things become more opportunistic because there becomes critical mass to start moving on something. But yeah, I mean, we can bring these back and, you know, next month and maybe flesh this out a little bit more. If you wanna say, you know, prioritize this, I will give you my recommendation of things to
Yeah,
prioritize.
definitely.
And if it's on the list, it's a priority to me already. But you know, it's not the kind of job that works, you know, linearly or whatever, where, you know, 1 week I'm just going to focus on,
Yeah, understood for
Yep.
sure.
Oh, we get that, yeah, for sure. And I think it's no different than a business, right? You've got things that pop up or opportunities that you want to jump on
Correct.
for sure. But I also think that Dawn is correct. If you don't have some type of a plan to stick to, it's so easy to just get scattered. And at least if we know what's going on, we should be able to help and assist in certain things, even if it's little things, Dave.
Yeah, Dave, this is Buzz.
Yep.
Are both the outdoor rec plan and the PTED Park master plan available to us on the county website? Are they? So I strongly encourage folks to take a look at both of those, because we put a lot of time into both of them to come up with the important stuff. And we got those plans. We should be using them.
I believe the outdoor rec,
Every single county board member got a copy of the outdoor plan in April.
Or should it be on the website
And
too?
it's on the website, and
Okay.
so
the
there's
outdoor
no
rec
excuse.
plan is on the website. I'm not sure if the PTED Park master plan is. If it's not, we will get it out.
I think it is.
on the
Well,
parks page.
I was out looking at this last night because I wanted to refresh my memory, and this must be the plan that everyone voted to go with when we were given a bunch of different options, right? So I hope this is what the company is using to guide their
Yes.
work.
Yep, absolutely.
But when I looked on the website for the master plan, what's out there is what appears to be kind of a PDF PowerPoint that listed all of the options that were presented,
Right.
but not really what was decided on.
Okay. Jack, take these guys. Let's make sure that the outdoor rec plan and the final version of the master plan, which was adopted by PTED and the county board, are on
I'm
the
sure you
website.
all have your copy of the outdoor plan. It was given to you on the April, for our first meeting as a new county board.
Yeah, would you mind just sending a quick email or have Amy with those links that make it quick so you don't have to hunt and peck for them? That'd be great.
So if we're done with this work.
The outdoor work plan is huge. I mean, it's not a binder, but it's, I think, Buzz, you have the outdoor plan, don't you?
I probably don't have it on my computer, Jeannie, anymore.
Because we worked on it. We.
Oh, I know. I know
Okay,
it.
sorry.
Put a lot of time into it for a year.
That's on the website.
But I would like to review it again
Yeah.
before the next meeting, and get some idea to come informed. So if we're going to start setting priorities and timelines, let's see how we talked about those issues
Okay.
again.
I think that's great, Buzz.
All right, so that is the tourism and economic development work.
Just a FYI, there's another meeting that starts in this room at 10:30.
Which I'm on too.
So.
Right, yep. Fantastic. All right, well anyways, we'll keep moving on here. I thought I had put this on as a separate agenda item for the marketing plan, but you know, since we're talking about work plan, we'll just roll right into it here. So this is the 2024 tourism marketing plan.
Which is number?
It's a continuation of.
Oh, okay, of what you're talking about now?
Continuation
okay.
of work plan.
All right.
So these are our social media goals for 2024. Expand our social media presence and reach. Increase number of people following us on Facebook and Instagram. We do this by frequent and compelling posts, 1 to 2 per day is the goal. You might have noticed, might not have, that we've been going pretty much every day recently, last week or two. Still trying to ramp up to that 1 to 2 times per day. Visually appealing posts are the priority, as well as posts which engage followers to comment or share on the post. And when I get done with this part of the presentation, I'm just going to show you a quick example of something that really worked well for us recently. Initiate a campaign to have our followers invite their friends to like or follow our page. I'm going to actually get out an email to all of you at some point here soon, just with instructions on, for those of you that are on Facebook, on how you can really help us expand our reach by inviting your friends to like our Facebook page. And then, Lori, this is you. Develop a network of community content partners. So this is, you know, what you've been talking about, and I think it's a great idea that, you know, I develop a link of, you know, folks, a network of folks around the county that can, you know, provide information, content that then we can use to put up a post. And, you know, by all means, you know, the other thing we can do is if there's good Facebook posts for certain events or, you know, community happenings that we can just, you know, share without having to, you know, recreate or create the content, that's right. Fabulous too.
Yep, great, good job.
We will explore some new social media channels. I know people like to talk about TikTok or Snapchat, or, you know, there's probably 2 or 3 or 5 new ones that, you know, I don't even know about that somebody's using. I think the big key, if we're going to expand from Facebook and Instagram, which is what we've got now, you know, we'd have to determine if they align with our target demographics, brand, image, and IT policies. Because to tell you the truth, I don't know, like, if we wanted to go on TikTok, if our IT department would even approve. I don't know that they wouldn't, but TikTok is one that's received a lot of negative attention recently too. For me personally, I mean, I have TikTok. I don't really use it for a heck of a lot, but
that's what is like 99% of people.
Yep.
I use it. It's hilarious, but I mean,
it's one of those things that if you don't have some of these social media channels that we're talking about, I encourage you to get on them and then see how you would use them and stuff. I think that would be informative for, you know, when we have those discussions down the road. I'm not opposed to it, but I think, you know, this idea of whether they align with our brand, our image, all of that stuff are things that we'll need to consider.
And just since we're talking about media, if you go to the county webpage and on the search button you say county outdoor plan, it comes right up.
That's good. So then, you know, continue with the social media goals. You know, really the goal is to drive more traffic to our tourism website, because that's where we have the ability to put the most information in. We really do need to start the conversation about exploring the creation of a standalone Trempealeau County tourism website outside of the Trempealeau County web infrastructure. And, you know, I think that when Tim does make it in for, you know, our PTED meeting, hopefully in March, that's something we can talk about. As you all know, we've been working with River Travel Media out of La Crosse now for, I think, 3 years, and they have made sort of an interesting proposal or offer to us, which is if we could, you know, if we could make a additional I'm going to work with them again this year, but they offered if they could, you know, if we made an additional 2-year commitment with them, that they actually would design a brand new website for us for free. It would just be part of that, you know, longer term commitment. And that's something that I really am intrigued by. I think we'd have, you know, there'd be some details we'd have to work out because we can't necessarily commit, you know, every year. So if we decided in the future, because our budget got cut or whatever, that we weren't going to work with River Travel, we'd have to figure out some way to, you know, pay back a portion of that service. But I want to kind of hold on that until we have the discussion with Tim about, you know, limitations and your expectations, frankly, of what we should have in a website. I've got some opinions, and you know, I think we can do better than what we've got.
I agree.
Dave, this is
One
Jean.
thing, Dave, oh, I'm sorry.
Dave, Tim knew about the meeting today and what we were asking for, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, asking is because this has been going on for a couple months. Could you email him or give me his email? I wouldn't understand why he wouldn't have ideas, so we could have them before the March meeting or send information back and forth.
I can, if you have information you want me to share with Tim. I mean, I did discuss with him, you know, up until just last week, he had some significant additional duties. Being county administrative coordinator, so yeah, he was planning to be here.
I understand that.
Yeah, he was planning.
I understand that, but this is important to the website. So if someone could put some information down as what was talked about, that would be great before the March meeting. So it's not like right there we can read what's going on, and then I can ask, or the other members of the committee can ask him or you thoughts. And we could do some follow-up on our end as well.
Sure. Yep. If you got some specific points that we want to put in front of Tim for him to react to before, you know, and prep for before that March meeting, send them my way, and I'm happy to share.
Yeah, and then have him put his ideas down as well as yours. That would be great.
Okay. Perfect.
Super. Dave, just one other quick question. Would we know if we own the rights to that actual website? If they do that, would you be able to find that out? You know, make sure that we would actually own the URL.
We would have to do that, Lori. That would be non-negotiable as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it is one of those things that I've seen more people than not get tripped up in.
Yeah. No, that's
okay,
absolutely
good.
something.
So you're aware.
Yeah. Simplifying our domain name. I got to just be honest with you. You know, it doesn't work for trying to, like, if you're trying to tell people where to go find us on the website. You know, and you're trying to explain an email address or web address. Good luck. So that's something that we're going to be working on. Consider using what they call tiny URLs names to make it easier to include a web link. So that's an alternative. If you can't really simplify your web name, you can create these little URLs that are like, you know, 5 or 6 characters that you can just click on or include in some of that stuff. And then finally, revamp our web content to make it more compelling and easy to find. So some of that web content out there has not been updated probably in 5 or 6 years. I think it could be, you know, clearer. So strategic partnerships, these are really important, I think, to our marketing. We are members of Explore La Crosse and Visit Winona. I'm working on getting a membership with Visit Eau Claire so we can strengthen those partnerships a little bit. Obviously, we work with Wisconsin Great River Road, and then the goal is to, you know, not necessarily have formal, like, written partnerships with area chambers, groups, and clubs, but to be developing those working partnerships a little bit more fully. By the way, I hope everybody's loving all of the photography we've got here. And then digital marketing. We'll be working with River Travel Media again this year to do what they call responsive display ads. These are the kind of things that appear in various feeds, such as when you do a Google search or go on YouTube, or any number of other places that you might go where Google feeds ads into websites. River Travel will be doing an almost $4,000 spend on this type of advertising for us for June through December. We're extending, last year we kind of started out with a spring-summer campaign with River Travel and then expanded it into the fall, and I think we got some good response from what we did in the fall. So now we're going to be continuing that arrangement with doing spring, summer, fall with them. And then finally, the goal is to be targeting people in the Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison, Iowa, Rochester, Minnesota, Twin Cities areas. And then finally, traditional media, print. We are in the visitors guides for Winona, La Crosse, and Wisconsin Great River Road. The plan right now is to do, for sure, 1, possibly 2 ads in On Wisconsin Outdoors. That's the tabloid style paper that is distributed free of charge at all the quick trips around the state. And I think that's got some good reach and it's economical. And then finally, we'll continue doing the Getting Outdoors segment on WHTL radio. Just a real quick recap of our marketing budget, where we came from, 22 and 23. The county allocated $14,000 each year. Both years we came very close to spending all of that. In 22, there was an additional $19,000 in ARPA funding, COVID relief funds for destination marketing. That was a 1-year only shot. And then in 24, the county board did approve increasing the marketing budget from $14,000 to $18,000, plus we have an additional $4,000 available for marketing Petrick Park. Oh. And what we're doing is, oh, Tim is here.
Good call.
Hi. So what we have been doing is we've been doing some, and there's examples here. We've been rolling that Petrick Park marketing right into some of our advertising we're doing, like this one in the upper right there, that little green box down there was, this is on Wisconsin Outdoors, and that was talking about fall camping specials at Petrick Park. And then one of these is the Explore La Crosse and one's the Visit Winona ad, but both of those have promo or coupon codes for % off of camping in Petrick. Awesome. So we're trying to integrate those. And then for the future, this is just, again, planting the seed for you county board members for our marketing budget to somehow be tied to a percentage of county sales tax revenue related to visitor spending. And that is the completion of the 2024 marketing plan. Questions?
Dave, this is Jean. I got pages 1 and 2, but I did not get any information what you've been talking about after the work with the Parks and Recreation county work plan.
Yeah, that social media plan was not in your packet. It was a PowerPoint presentation. If you'd like, I can make it a PDF and I can send it to the committee.
That'd probably be nice.
That would be fabulous, because I want that for my record.
Absolutely.
And Buzz, I sent you the outdoor plan. I hope you got it.
When I'm looking at the outdoor plan, I guess I'm a little confused with what's out there. Appears to be the work plan that was developed with the company that we must have contracted with to come up with the plan. And it shows all of the different options that were presented, like option 1, 2, 3, but it doesn't really detail what the final plan was.
Well, I think that we had a timeline to get the outdoor plan done, and it may have been done before the committee. I can't remember. Buzz, can you remember?
Can you reframe that question, Dawn,
Yeah.
a little bit?
Well, so what is out there? It says Petrick Park Master Plan 5-3 of 22.
You have the 25-26 outdoor plan. Is that what you're looking at? What are you looking at? Could you show me?
This is the Peatrick Park master plan that is
Okay,
out
that's
on
not the outdoor
website.
plan then. That's different.
Okay, well, this is what's out on the website. I know there is the other plan also. I guess what I was specifically looking for is when it comes to development of the Peatrick Park, there must have been a final draft, a final decision of a plan.
There was, and if that's not what's out there, then that will be replaced.
And I don't see that, but I know what you're talking about is the Trempealeau County or outdoor recreation plan, Jeannie?
Yes.
And that is good, it's just not specific to the park though.
It's specific, it's for the whole county.
Yeah,
It's this.
but I think what Buzz was
It's
looking
this.
for was that we wanted to look at the final plan for the Peachick Park development, I think.
That was voted
And
on a while ago.
Right, but it's not out there. What is out there is like a draft, is like a final
Yes,
draft,
yeah.
but not the
Okay,
complete.
then that just needs to be updated.
Yeah, we can do that.
We're kind of getting
Well,
the.
the reason I guess I wanted to look at both, we did have some priorities identified in the outdoor rec plan that were outside of the Peachick Park plan. So if we're going to come together at some point and start developing work plans and prioritizing tasks that are outside of the park, we should go back to that plan because there was quite a bit of thought and time and discussion to put those priorities together. And it kind of keeps you from shooting from the hip a little bit. And there was some pretty good thought put into that. And the one I was most interested in is progressing more with the water trails that we identified as a high priority for the Trempealeau River. And there's been some limited work done on that by some interns, but we really haven't come to develop some of those sites and get those into our marketing plan a bit more.
And that's, I do have that on my Parks and Recreation work
Which
plan.
Buzz doesn't probably have.
Yeah, and I don't, and that's something I'll have to.
Can you email it to him?
Get to those guys, yeah.
Oh, you don't have your computer. Does Amy, do you have a copy of the parks plan on your computer that you could send to Buzz and Jean and Lori?
I do not
Okay.
believe I have the current one.
Well, he hasn't presented it. He's gonna present it during the meeting.
I know, I thought maybe somebody might. Okay.
I
But
might
I
have
think
some
one
in
of the
the
things
shared
that
files,
Dawn-
Amy.
Well,
Yeah, I think one of the things that Dawn and Buzz is trying to get across is it would be great to have exactly what pieces that we're supposed to be looking at for the next meeting so that we can be schooled in exactly what it is that that we're going to present so that we know ahead of time and we can do our homework. That's all we want to do is make sure we're looking at the right stuff. Can you guys do that for us?
And when we did the master plan and we approved it, we said this is just a guide. This isn't written in stone.
Right.
It's just something to say, okay, well, and we did some of those trails with, what the hell was his name? Reed right away.
Mm-hmm.
And we were only gonna do what we can afford.
Yeah, the plan is, we have to remember, okay, I'm talking about the Peachick Park plan, not the 50-page outdoor plan, which is for the entire
No,
county.
park plan.
That plan is a living plan that could change. We could say, okay, we don't have the money to do the water theme, so we're gonna do the Gaga Bowl or this. It's very flexible because we don't have a $5 million, although it's not a $5 million plan. We have to be able to do what we can afford when we can do it.
And our priority too is to utilize that Schrank property
Right.
in some fashion.
Before the
Doesn't
end
have
of
to be the
this
pond,
year.
It could be any other, we couldn't move that around, and it's
Right.
in flux. It's
Right.
always in flux to whatever fits our budget. And
Right.
the county parks can afford even down the road.
And that's what our special meeting is about next week, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we could just hold on to all of those questions and issues for that next meeting because, well, they'll just have to wait in the hallway till we're done or find another room if possible, but.
I think it's great to wait until next week. The only thing is, if you can just make sure that we have all the materials so that we are prepared ahead of time, that would be just great. Just so we're all looking at the same stuff.
Everything is on the website, right? All the drafts, all the options.
Well, I think
I mean, if
that-
you just search, I mean, that's how I find everything. I go to the, I just use the search button.
I'm assuming whatever the team is bringing next week, I'm sure they must have a presentation. It would
Yes.
be awesome to have that presentation in advance so I can look at it and be prepared for the
We're meeting, we have bi-weekly meetings with them. We have one this Thursday, I believe. So I will ask them to prepare a presentation that can be sent in advance.
Did you have a question, Bob?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you did.
So if we're done with that, Tim is here. I don't know if we want to go back to that item.
Is it on the agenda?
Do you feel up to talking about it?
Well, I need to see it. I wasn't able to get to the packet. Sorry, Dave.
There wasn't anything in the packet. It was
Yeah,
just
there
an
wasn't
agenda
anything in
item.
the packet, Tim. This was just, the committee had some concerns and they wanted to hear from IT about, you know, how we could make the website, tourism website more visible, user-friendly, you know, whether there were any limitations, I think, that prevented us from developing a standalone website. So that was,
I have a suggestion that we make this a priority in our March meeting because this could be a really lengthy discussion about how to utilize IT for our website.
Actually, can go fairly quick.
Okay.
There was scheduled to be a website refresh in 2025. Whether it would be difficult to find somebody who's willing to host it for the low price that we get from Revise. They're based out of Troy, Michigan. But we've talked about it previously about incorporating agendas, minutes, resolutions into the website. And then the permitting process as well. So there's a lot of open-ended questions about the website and how we might go about redoing it for 2025.
Okay.
So the process would have to begin in May and June because we'd want to include those numbers in the budget in August.
Okay.
So it is going to be addressed. There would be no opposition from IT if Dave was to proceed with a standalone website. If he can acquire the appropriate domain. We are wary of .coms because of potential exposure of the organization. But if you're not tying it back in with people responding and directing it into our network, where it's just being hosted somewhere else and you gather the data there and it's separated, I don't think we'd have any problem with that at all.
okay.
Do you honestly, I just have a question for the committee. Do you think it would be less confusing for people if it was a standalone domain rather than going, I mean, as sitting here, I was just going through counties in our area and the tourism and parks is all connected to the main county.
UW Extension currently is a separate website entirely, but the page is embedded in our website.
I
So
can
we do the
that's
same,
true.
Okay.
we do the same thing there.
Okay.
That's what I was
That
gonna
would be just
suggest.
fine.
Okay, all right.
And creating something separate that would allow Dave and PTED to add the social media elements to it, which is how people under 40 communicate now. They don't go to
I know.
messages. They get
It's
it all
true.
through social media. So
Are we allowed to
something
use
that provides a
TikTok?
little flexibility for them to make it a little more vibrant page than what we have as our main page.
Okay.
Certainly seems like a good idea.
So like you're thinking April, May, we should start discussing this,
Yes.
preparing a plan, put a plan together for budget.
Yeah.
Is this county allowed to use TikTok?
I wouldn't. I'm not the one to answer that.
Would that be
We
Rebecca?
can't know everything, and when it comes to IT, I am not a social media person. I don't have a single social media
Okay.
account. I think it's all evil. If it's free, you're the product.
Okay, all right.
So I'm not a fan.
Your answer.
Don't hold back, Counselor. Thank you.
Maybe
But there
that
are
would be more
people
a Rebecca
inside the
or-
organization who can be experts on that, and we just make sure that it's secure and we can
Yep.
figure out,
Okay.
make sure we have multiple administrators so that we don't get,
Okay.
and it all gets backed up on Archive Social, we don't care.
Okay, all right.
Maybe just a suggestion, that could be a Rebecca and/or Corporation Council thing too.
I know if you're a federal employee, you can't have it on your computer.
So,
One last question. It is still very possible to get to the old Trempealeau County website.
Can't do anything about it.
Why the heck?
Somebody in the
Somebody
Bahamas.
else
We don't
owns
control
it.
the domain.
Somebody in the Bahamas owns it.
Well,
Yeah,
When you
somebody
guys-
bought the domain.
Oh, so when did you guys switch from the old one to the current one a few years back? It's been quite a while, right?
It's close to.
We need to like move
Wow.
on in the agenda. We cannot buy that back.
Nope.
Forever, is that a yearly membership or anything?
$250 a year, and we can't get it back.
Unless they
We can't
choose
just,
to
so
sell
we
it.
don't have to pay them next time and then they drop
We've
us.
notified Google and other search pages multiple times that it's a scam page, because they put cash ads right embedded in the old code, so.
If whoever's got it right now decides not to buy it at some point in the future and it was open, then we could buy it and just shut it down, I suppose.
Yeah.
Waste of money.
yeah, but it's not good for the public to get directed to that old
Yes.
site either.
Sometimes you do, yeah.
Could,
That's not-
I can hear most of what we're talking about. Could the information the gentleman was talking about, could that be put down on paper? I believe the information was that we could have a standalone
Yes.
website and whatever.
Yes.
Could what he talked about just get put down for us? And perhaps, because I know we have to move on, that a few of us could be on a website committee and work with Dave and get things ready, because what did you say?
You're exactly
Something
right.
about April?
We need to start working on this. There's gonna be a refresh of our webpage in 2025, so we would need to start working on this April, May, June.
Okay, well, for clarification, I think Tim was talking about a refresh of the county website.
Right.
So if we want to do our own standalone,
You gotta start
we're not
then.
necessarily on that timeline.
Right.
But based on what I'm hearing from Tim, and this is kind of what I expected, but you all wanted to hear from Tim directly, is this probably puts me back on track where I would strongly look at taking up River Travel Media on their offer to work on something. So certainly we could form a committee,
Right.
a couple of people from PTED along with me to work with Brent and Amy from River Travel to advance this project.
Okay.
And we probably can move, I can guarantee we can move faster on this than what the county would on a revision.
April's 2 months away.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that's just when you're starting to talk about
yeah.
what
Okay.
that might look like in 25.
Right, we would have to put together a committee of board supervisors, some department heads, and maybe some younger social media minded people. And
Yes.
We'll be going through.
This is gonna allow us to move on a lot quicker timetable.
We have to move on.
Yes,
Right
I
now,
know.
is that way?
And I like me being the younger guy on the board, or one of the younger ones around here.
Well,
I
we're
like to
talking
be on
about
that
younger
committee.
staff as well. We have to make sure that we remember as
Yeah.
county board members, we're policy makers.
Technically,
We're
we're
not
policy-
supervisors of staff, so just a reminder.
Yeah, you gotta wait till April because you got elections coming up.
Yeah, and there's-
Okay, we have to move on here. Thank you, Tim, for coming
Thank you.
and being so supportive of our needs. And congratulations on back to your one responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you're in pain. You look like
That's
you're in pain.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Do you have anything more to say to us?
No.
Okay, great. I would like to move,
Thank you.
we're on number 10.
13.
We haven't talked about number 10 yet. Discussion of Dairyland Power proposed Alma Blair transmission line.
Yeah, let me just find this real quick here.
Is ELU looking at this as well?
I didn't put it on the ELU agenda.
It seems like it might be.
It seems like it might not
Yes.
hurt. Can we still do I'll have to
You
look
meet
and see if we
tomorrow.
can put it, no, it's on Friday.
Oh, Friday, okay.
Yeah.
You still have time then?
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because the answer to your questions is we just don't know at this point.
What do you
So
wanna know?
They have the open house coming up.
they had them last week.
They were last week,
So,
yeah.
so the real quick story here is that Dairyland Power Cooperative is planning to build a new transmission line between Alma and Blair. And on the screen here are the two options that they are considering. The blue one, the southern route, would pretty much just run as a straight shot across from Alma to Blair, coming in just north of our crossing 93 just north of Arcadia, just south of Petrick Park. And I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. The green route, which is the northern route, would cut across Buffalo County, come in up sort of by Gilmanton, down towards Independence there, just south of Independence, and then come right along Highway 93, would actually cut across part of Petrick Park property, and then it would join that blue route right there north of Arcadia. So I did go to the public meeting in Alma last week, talked to folks. Again, what they told me was that the blue route, the southern route, is their preferred alternative. So that being said, there's no guarantee that they don't go on that northern route. It depends on like public comment, depends on whether they can secure easements, all of that stuff. The impact at Petrick Park would be this. It would basically, the power line corridor would come into the east of the railroad tracks. So the park side of the railroad tracks out there, you got Highway 93, railroad tracks, then Park. It would come in on the east side. It would run parallel to the railroad tracks on the east side. So yeah, I saw that face, Dawn. I agree.
May I make a comment?
Yes.
Would it be pertinent for PTED committee to perhaps put forth a resolution or statement of support for a southern corridor to
Yes.
avoid that impact to the park?
Yeah.
It would be in our best interest to do that. And to me, it makes sense to do the southern route, the blue route. I mean,
Yep.
this is like a lot of people that they're gonna have to get easements
And I would imagine
The top route
economically.
is not gonna be as big as the bottom route.
Yeah, the blue route is 12 miles shorter right now.
Well, it's also curious, I think it's a bigger power line too, going straight, because they said on this route, the topography there, or geography, it just goes up and down so much that they have to buy a ton of right-of-way.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
here, they've got pretty much right-of-way, they will have to buy more right-of-way, they're gonna go from 60 feet to 150 feet.
It's simply
Because
simpler
it's
all the way
a-
around.
There's actually, yeah.
Same-size towers, and the government, Madison decides where it goes anyway.
When's the public hearing?
Oh, they're not even that.
They-
Oh, they aren't even,
not
this
even
was,
close.
this was just baby steps, cause I
This is
got
the
it.
this is the opening salvo.
This is something they have to do.
Correct.
They have to
Just to
provide.
send it to, to send
Okay.
it down to Madison and say, this is what we found out. You didn't vote on it or anything at these meetings, they just told you whatever you
They
wanted.
just gave
Right.
information, yeah.
They can give their
See,
preference, it sounds like, but they don't make the final decision.
And we can put this on again, next month or whenever it would be appropriate to weigh in on preferred routes. They haven't even, this was just the opening public information meetings. Haven't developed a route recommendation yet or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I'd
I
like to
think-
know I don't know enough about what this corridor would mean for the property owners and for
Right.
the
property
easements and
owner,
all
the
of
easement,
that.
They get paid for it.
It'll be
And
similar,
they can either take it one of two ways, and it's mandated by the state, who gets paid and who doesn't. I think if it's agricultural, they get more. If it's commercial, it's a different, but they can either take it a one-time lump sum, or they can spread it out over.
But did you say it would be 100 feet on each side of the?
I don't know
power lines, or
exactly
like-
how much it
So
would
that's
be.
kind of what I would like to
They
hear
said
more
they're-
about the details.
They're gonna have they need 150 feet of right of way.
I'm meeting with them, I think next week.
And they said the other thing, the top route, the maintenance is real tough.
They obviously picked one route which was much easier to argue for.
But there's a line on both of them now.
Yeah.
It's just the expansion of the line that they have.
right.
So that, there's multiple reasons for us to be interested and, let our opinions be known on this project. One, if they went that green route, it certainly would affect Petrick Park and there'd be mitigation that would need to be done, and stuff like that. Two, it is an economic development issue because certainly having, reliable power for residential business uses is critical. So, we're not, we definitely aren't in opposition. But, three, these projects, just like the one down, in southern Trempealeau County, they've got aesthetic impacts. And you can't do much about that, but I mean, I certainly asked, and I'm curious about whether or not there'll be these CapEx type payments, you know, environmental mitigation impact payments on this project too. So it's a lot to sort of keep track of, but I am in the loop and meeting with these people, and we'll keep you and ELU informed.
Yeah, I think if there's a resolution that we bring to the full board, it should come from PTED and ELU.
Yep.
Because whatever route they choose affects all landowners, you know. And it is an aesthetic nightmare, but I've kind of just gotten used to what's in Galesville and all the way down to Madison on the side of I-94. So
that's the short presentation on that. Just want to let you know that we're tuned in.
So on 11, have you kind of given your report?
Pretty much, other than I did go to Wisconsin Governor's Conference on Economic Development last week down in Wisconsin Dells. It was really good, wide range of topics, including, you know, housing, artificial intelligence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One of the intriguing sessions was on the final day, Friday morning, and it had to do with kind of what I think is sort of a novel housing concept initiative, and it's called the Community Land Trust, and I'm not going to do it justice by explaining all the details, especially in a short period, but it essentially involves like a nonprofit or whatever buying up land for housing, and then you know, to kind of lock in lower rates on the housing, and then they'll put initial subsidies into building housing, but the housing gets built on essentially what's like a 99-year lease, so that the cost of the land is not necessarily part of the cost of that home. It's the idea is to bring the entry costs down, and then there's sort of a formula that this one community land trust was working with, where say you live in the house for 10 years and you make a certain number of dollars amount of improvements in the house, that you get the dollars that you back when you sell it that you put into that, plus you get some of the appreciation of the house. But then the next buyer also is able to buy the house at substantially below market value because of not having to essentially pay for the land. Yeah, it's a really interesting concept, and you know, I would stay for the whole conference anyways, but a lot of people stayed for that last session because that's such an innovative idea.
Who presented that?
Oh, it was a couple of people. One was Wisconsin Public Housing Initiative, and then, yeah.
Because I know Madison, Dane County is doing some of that work, and they have built like tiny houses, like the old-fashioned row houses, you know, or old from the whatever. But it's kind of cool what they're doing, and you know, instead of having that land just go to hell, it's being used really appropriately to house people.
Next month I will be going to the Governor's Conference on Tourism down in Lake Geneva, so I'm sure I'll see Gene Gelazinski there for that.
I would love to go to that.
That's all I've got at this point.
Wonderful. Now we're on number 12.
Sure.
Discussion, and you handed out your work plan, which is really good. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
So I apologize for the people that are online that didn't get a work plan.
I know, I wish I somehow could
magically I'll read from the report. I was going to summarize a little bit more, but I'll read from it. That's so people can online can hear it.
Okay.
But I can also get that report to you if you want it. I can email it over. So
that would be great. Thank you.
That way, like we were saying in previous for Dave's plan, that we can kind of make these work plans a priority throughout the year. I think
you kind of did you did your top 7. I like that.
Yeah, so that you guys last meeting you wanted me to come up with a priorities list. So I guess 12 through 14 are going to kind of be summed up on this page. So that priorities list will be at the end there, so we'll get to that. But again, I'm just going to read from the plan, and then kind of slow down if I need to, and also feel free to reach out for discussion and
Okay,
whatnot.
thank you.
So with the work plan, we're kind of tried to segment some main points. The first being Peachtree Park. That's definitely going to be our main initiative this upcoming year. There's a lot of different things that we need to be working on in the park. And one being up to ADA code. That's something that I've done a full facilities assessment in the park in my first month and a half, and I think making sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's, especially when it comes to ADA code, and seeing what needs to be addressed. Because the thing with that is you need to be more proactive instead of reactive, because those type of things are complaint based. So once we get a complaint, that's when it needs to be addressed. So whatever we can do to get some things done beforehand when it comes to ADA code, like one thing I saw was there's some round door handles at the park.
Right.
All door handles now have to have a lever. So it's things like that when we're going through the park. What are small changes that we can do that are proactive instead of reactive? With Peachtree Park, maintenance and equipment, full facilities assessment was done for the park. We'll prioritize the problems that need to be addressed, like being up to date with ADA code. Regular equipment checks, along with the set schedule for the groundskeepers with park tasks, will be the focus. So that's something I hadn't seen in the files, is actual trainings for our groundskeepers. I know we got 2 marks out there that are 70, 71 retired workers, so they're not going to be around forever taking care of the park. So getting some set trainings. What's that?
One's 74, the other 60.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you averaged out
They're
the
all
ages.
old to him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh! You're right, at our age, they're all. Yep. You said that, I mean.
So yeah, getting some set trainings down is something I want to work on before start of camping in April. April 12th, I think, is our tentative set date for the campground to open. Just having some things in writing down that if something ever were to happen and say we didn't hire the marks back, or one of them was to leave, that transition process is a little bit easier.
Jack, is your work plan on the G drive, or did you put it on the U drive?
I moved it into the G.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you know what
So
folder
it's
it's
gonna
in?
be.
Because I'll bring it up.
It's going
so
to be
that-
in that main one that you
Okay.
and I share. It's all the way down at the bottom.
All right, I'll find it.
Oh, so you can put it up on the screen?
Yep.
I'll look for it.
And the
Sorry.
Zoomers can see that, right? The people
Yes.
that are
If you
Zooming?
share the screen.
Yes. I'll look for it.
When you were talking about ADA, our playground is totally not,
Yep, and that
it needs to be
playground.
just torn down.
Playground improvements are in the design elements of
Right.
SRF, so I think that's in the phase 2. Phase 1 was that rec pond,
Mhm.
and phase 2 is those design elements in the park and the bridge. So that's definitely something that needs to be addressed, and
Okay,
that
great.
is complaint based. So again, I just want to re-highlight that being proactive instead of reactive when we're dealing with park improvements.
Okay,
The next thing is trying to build a Friends of for Peachtree Park. To build a park that is fully accessible for all individuals, provides programming, and can handle multiple usages, it requires establishing relationships with the right kind of people throughout the county. We'll work to create a Friends group to have some extra eyes and hands, and that can help further progress and details at the park. Friends group need to be labeled as a 501c3, and a president, treasurer, and secretary must all be appointed when the committee members are decided. So again, there might be some committee members in here that want to serve on that Friends of. That's something I've been working with. Dave highlighted some people I should reach out to when I first got in, and I've kind of taken the reins from there, trying to reach out to as many people, get the word out. Been going to a lot of Chamber of Commerce, Rod and Gun Clubs, that type of thing, trying to get the message out to those people.
4-H groups?
4-H groups, no, but we do have UW Extension that I've been kind of working with a little bit, so that might be another person to kind of reach out. But these friends groups, from what I heard at my time at the Parks Conference this last week, can really help the park. You're getting a lot of hands and a lot of eyes that you can't be there at the park obviously all the time. So getting these people that are committed to the same objective that the county has is great. I mean, if you can get that volunteer work, you can make some real changes. So that's something that's going to be a main priority, I'd say, is trying to get a friends group for Petrick Park, and then seeing what opportunities for friends groups we have in other areas, maybe a little bit down the line.
I do appreciate you having a couple of county board members and or committee members on that board to be kind of liaisons.
Okay.
That'd be good.
Definitely.
And it's a long process to get the 501c3, that all that paperwork and all, because we did that for Save the Hills Alliance, and it took us about a year.
Yeah, so kind of as I said, Dave gave me some people, and I've just been reaching out, trying to get the word, find those people that are interested in helping out this friends group in particular. So having different parts of the county represented in different areas of professional service, that's kind of our focus, and just getting the word out to these people and seeing who's interested is kind of where we're at right now.
Okay.
Guess the next thing would be the rec pond and bridge for Petrick Park. We're continuing the rec pond and design that's what we've kind of talked about in our meetings with SRS Consulting. It's mainly been rec pond based, but we briefly touched on the bridge last meeting. So continuing that process, trying to get as many details out as we can, but then being able to get that information to you guys in a good way, and eventually getting our timeline of events to the public properly.
Chad, is the pond already designed and everything?
We have not got to the full pond design yet. There's been some like brief sketches and outlines of
It's really at this point, as I explained previously, they've got a design concept, and before we got too deep into the weeds with the design, we wanted to bring it back to PTED, which is the reason for the meeting next week. From there, then the idea would be to really start, based on whatever input you might have, to really start refining that and getting something that's actually, can identify quantities of dirt that would have to be moved, sand that would need to be brought in, how much the liner is going to cost, what treatment systems are in, all of that stuff, to put together, some estimated costs and put together something that could be bid out for construction.
Okay, but in yearly meetings is going to be.
Well, that's what we all have to discuss, I think, next week.
Save those questions for next week.
Yeah, this next week meeting, from what I could tell from Phil, he wants to get the information out to you guys correctly.
Backing off and spend all that money. That's why the meeting next week. Hopefully, it'll give us a good sense of direction of which way we want to go.
Right.
We're seeing some images that you guys haven't seen necessarily yet, so I think this meeting will help kind of bring you guys into the fold a little bit better.
One of the things with that, I'll just let you guys know, is I started thinking about insurance for the park. I don't know if that's been considered, but for any of the changes that we're planning to implement, particularly surrounding rec pond, what does that do for property and liability insurance?
Yep, HR is on that.
We can bring corp counsel into that discussion.
I reached out to ask the question, and corp counsel forwarded it to HR, and HR is talking with their insurance provider about what things we should think about with relationship to that. But I don't know that we'll have that information by Tuesday.
they're pretty good at getting back to us about, it might be on the, I haven't seen the agenda for the personnel committee, but it might be on the agenda for next week.
HR is good, I don't know about the insurance company. The insurance company is a difficult part of that whole equation.
I know, but the people that we work with are great. We have the best coverage, best people to work with. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. So we'll move on to that rec pond and stuff more in the next meeting next week. So moving on to camping and reservations. We've recently been doing some coordination with CampSpot to be a main course of action. We're trying to get more campsites that are available online, establishing new prices for these sites, and conveying this message to the public. So we have added a bunch of, we're trying to formalize our CampSpot as best as we can. From all our lower sites, it's kind of been, you get down there and you're in there if you're in there. And when I came in, I didn't necessarily like the thought of that, especially for Ashley. When seeing CampSpot, I'm like, man, it's going to be tough if some people are manual entry and some people are online in CampSpot, especially for Ashley. So there are some changes that we can do to help mend the gap a little bit. That being trying to be more organized in CampSpot, get more sites in there. That's definitely a priority. We've been doing that over the last couple weeks, so getting those sites in there that are probably going to end up being tent sites down in that lower loop. We have a plan out there. Changes are made in CampSpot, and now just bringing that message forth to the public and making them aware.
Just to piggyback a little bit on what Jack's saying. So we have currently, well, we had 69 sites available on CampSpot. For Lake Ashley, those went in 8 minutes. I kid you not. And we watched. It was a very smooth process. Some people complained, but that's always going to be the case. There's an additional 31 spots that we've created down in the lower loop that in the past were sort of informal. Reed filled those up with people that just showed up that didn't have reservations, which I think kind of goes against the spirit of what we're trying to do with, say January 11th is when we're going to have those available. So what we did do is, those filled up in 8 minutes. There were people that started reaching out to us about a wait list. So even though we have been trying to get away from like the old wait list phone calling thing, we still started a wait list this year, and now that these sites have been identified, and Jack had land records actually map them out.
Oh, awesome.
So that we could know, and so we can put them in CampSpot. He's working through the list here to
So yeah,
really
we
cool.
ended up putting, I think, 20 tent sites in, and then 8 group sites.
And then the other thing that's really good about this is by putting them into CampSpot, which is Jack is working on doing this week. Then when we call those people back, we can take your credit card and book it right through CampSpot instead of having to deal with cash.
Nice. Sweet. Nobody has cash anymore.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I just wanted to clarify what we're doing there.
And we get 6 months to kind of figure out that online process instead of so much happening that weekend of Ashley.
Next year, the goal would be all 100 of those sites would be available.
Yeah.
And
Because there's
then
no question.
they'll be gone in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it might take a minute or two more, but they'll be gone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome, Jack. I like that.
I have a question for you, Jack.
Sure.
When you take these campsites, January 1st or whatever you did, then they get a credit, you give you a credit card, do you get paid right there?
Yes.
Or does it first, they take the money exchange when the Ashley at the arts is? So you get a ready on time, so we are drawing some interest off this.
Absolutely.
That's what
And
I
then we'll
just-
get more once next year when we have our more sites.
Yeah, we booked something like $15,000 or $16,000 in 8 minutes.
But I mean, where is that money? Isn't sitting anywhere drawing interest.
It's wherever it's, I don't know how the back end accounting works with the county.
If we could make a CD on it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make a 6 months.
Yeah,
They're paying 5-6%.
I do have a
You get something.
meeting with
a couple hundred
CampSpot
bucks.
on the 8th, so those back end accounting questions, I think.
No, this is a back end accounting, county accounting. Like our cash money that are in our budgets, you know, so that's actual revenue that we do have.
Yeah, it's our
coming
revenue,
as
it's in our
opposed to-
budget.
Yeah,
Right, but it's not sitting anywhere making money.
Yeah. it's
The
just
cash
sitting
that we've earned could potentially, like what you're saying, be invested in a CD.
Oh, God.
we
I
can look,
just-
we can look into that. That's-
I can just see, hey,
Yeah,
will
okay.
you
Because
take
you're
this
not
out of our
keeping it
budget and put it in a
6
CD?
months.
I mean, I don't know how that would work.
Have you increased your, basically point of no return? What your time frame is for cancellation, that we don't have to return the money?
We haven't done that since there's been such an outreach of people, like we have 15 to 20 people on the wait list right now, but we will put out some type of cancellation policy. Probably, it looked like Reed did it in May last year, so I'm probably looking for something similar there. Probably that same timeline, but
We had a
we're always able to like replace a spot. or
Right, but
something
I mean, still,
pretty
you know, you
easily.
got somebody stringing you along, you've got a waiting list, but I mean, that's just doing business, that, you know,
Correct.
you just don't return it because you don't pull that on
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I have not looked at the camp spot since last year, but last year it does say in there what the cancellation is, and it's at the discretion of the administrator, so.
Yeah.
If I may make a comment, with these additional campsites, you said you worked with land records to get some of those sites laid out. Have you touched base with environmental health and the health department to ensure that we're complying with the necessary
We-
campground codes?
We can be up to 100 sites.
Yeah, and just
So
with
we're
the
at-
layout, it's
Yes.
good to give them their preliminary eyes.
We
That's
did
good to have on
that a
hand.
while ago.
Right, got it started.
Yeah, we're connected with the health
Great,
department.
yep, I just wanted
Oh,
to
that's
make
right,
sure
you're
there
on
was
the
a
health
connection
department.
being made.
So we're both
Yep.
are.
But with those sites, we are maxed out, so this is kind of gonna be the layout for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, as long as they've had a chance for input to say, we see a problem before we go too far, that's
Oh,
all
yeah.
I wanted to.
All
make
this
sure.
is formalizing what has been past practice.
And to add to what he said, you should have a policy set in place on, those are the sites that are gonna flood really fast.
Yeah.
So I mean, just a policy there that if you get a half-hour warning and we need you to get out of there, I mean,
The
for
thing
those
is
people.
though,
I mean,
they
just
are
to-
just
to
gonna be
protect
10
them.
sites.
Yeah, but you said you had 15 camper sites.
Yeah.
Well, there's 8 group sites and 20 tent sites.
The
Group
sites-
site 1,
campers.
2, and 3 can possibly house a camper, but down in that lower loop, if you have a big RV, I don't think you can.
But even tents, I mean, I think we should have a policy just in place saying, you know, if, in case of an emergency, these are protocol that we need you to be able
Yes,
to react
yeah.
to for your own safety and protect us, to say, hey, we told them about it and everything ahead of
That's
time.
something you can work with the health department on,
But-
what
but I-
happens.
But I would say, taking that one step further, is there any kind of a document, disclosure, something that people sign when they come camp?
No.
Yes.
There is?
Yes.
What?
There should be on.
There is, it's part of the camp spot reservation
Yeah,
process.
and it's stated right in there what the cancellation is, what the procedures are and stuff like that. You just, when you reserve, there's another click that
Okay.
shows where all the policies and stuff are.
I'll look at
And we
that.
did update that in May when
Good, good.
we found a couple inconsistencies.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess,
And just
I was just thinking
Just
about.
quickly back to Emmerich's question there, just to make sure that we actually do have plan approval to go up to 100 sites. I mean, you actually have written plan approval?
Yeah, that was a long time ago we did that.
We'll double,
Right,
we'll
but
double
that-
check
it
with
doesn't work
Barry.
like that.
We'll double check.
Yeah, that doesn't work like that, Judy.
No, we foresaw the future, how much camping we were gonna do, and there's a plan with the health department about how many toilets you need and.
And the good part about it now
It
is.
doesn't work like that, Jeannie.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's how it worked in the past.
No, we just need to stay engaged.
Well, it's not how it works
with them
now.
in the planning
The
process.
the good part about it now is we're still in the stages where it's not available to the public, and we haven't made the message that the campsites are available. So there's an administration hold on all those sites, so there can't be. So we're still working out the details, and contacting health department will definitely be.
Yeah, you can't do anything with the sites until you have that plan approval.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on.
All right. Piggybacking off camping and reservations, a new entrance sign with QR code is something I hope to be working on with the highway department. Again, this is encouraging that online service, and we're still going to have manual entries on that yellow post. We're just not going to advertise it this year.
Okay.
That way, if we do have that problem of that 5 to 10% of people that absolutely do not want to pay online, there's still an option for those people too.
And the highway part, have they ever even had to plow the driveway this year?
Not that I know of.
Wow.
Yeah. So that worked out.
It's worked out great.
Nobody's had the power drive this year.
I
Moving
take my
on.
dogs down there. It's great.
Good.
In the winter. I mean, there's
Yep.
right now it's beautiful to walk down there.
Yeah, those trails.
We
are
got
good.
another, we gotta have 20 minutes here.
Yep. I'm gonna speed through this. So recreation services.
Don't worry about it. We can have ADRC move to a different room if possible.
Except I have to be out of here, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll also just send you all a copy of this to what
Yeah.
you've got.
Right.
Those that are in the room have a copy. Those that are online, we'll get you a copy. So if Jack doesn't get
Public
it.
outreach, you can read that. I've kind of touched on it a little bit of who the type of people I'm talking with, who we're trying to work with, and how we're trying to build relationships over the next year.
Add the Veteran Service Office to your list because they're really interested in doing some weekend stuff with veterans on working with PTSD and having a speaker there that I've already thought of somebody that would be great. So
Yeah, that's a good one.
make a connection with them
Mm-hmm.
for them to come for a
Making
weekend.
them aware of the Friends of Puget Park would be a good thing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get our 4-H kids back out there more often.
All right.
I see Buzz
Two
left.
programs that I'd like to somehow put out there. A registration system is kind of something that we don't have at the moment. How we put those programs out there, we'll have to try to figure that out. Archery is one of them. My time in Chippewa, that was one of the first things we did. We got involved with Chippewa Bow Hunters Club, and then we got involved with the DNR, and we hosted a mini camp for those Chippewa Bow Hunter Club members, and got them certified to teach the youth.
How fun that would
Ages
be.
10 through 17 is kind of our target area for NASP or beginner archers. So we're looking for that teenage to service a program that those ages don't always get a lot of opportunities for programming. Sometimes it's a lot of youth, and this is a good thing. I think that we can focus on in maybe getting our first legs on the ground with the program.
Oh, that's
next year.
exciting.
So the one good thing is we have multiple ways we can go about it. So I'm going to be looking into that. UW Extension does have some equipment down in the basement. Some Matthews Mission bows that are set up for a program like that. I'm going to be at Osseo Rod and Gun tonight at a meeting, and they are just getting done with an archery, I believe, that they were doing out there. I think the guy that was instructing, this is his last year, so there is a calling to maybe service this for the youth of the county. So we're going to be looking into archery as well as a possible Sunday night music series.
Fun.
I've reached out to the bigger communities that are in the county, so looking at like a Sunday night music series that runs throughout the summer, that goes like every 2 weeks. The contract between the band, their event date, and where they'd be playing, that would be something that would be made up by the county and would be signed by us. And seeing if we can make this happen is kind of where we are right now. I've reached out to all the communities and gauged their interest and got good feedback from people. I think communities would be interested, and the good thing about it is each community would only have one day that they would be responsible for. So like one night we'd be in Whitehall in June, and maybe in July we are in Oliva, and the community would get to pick the band that they want, and we would handle the communication. So it's just an idea, and we'll see how we can progress on it throughout the year.
Osseo Park, they have music in the park on Mondays, and you could touch base with some of the Lions clubs. Oliva Strum, I know we have music in the park.
That's what I've heard, because a lot of those shelters have Lions.
Yep, we have music in the park like 4 or 5 times during the summer, and it's grown. You know, and the Lions Club serves food and stuff.
Yeah, so it's just another opportunity for people to get out on a weekend where they're available and maybe go to a different town that's nearby.
Cool.
So I like the idea and definitely going to pursue it.
Awesome.
Land use, better signage for our facilities with clear access routes for recreation. On the map, I've noticed, like, when I'm just looking at Onyx, Trempealeau County owns like little strips on creeks or rivers, and sometimes it's not labeled the best, like when you're going by there. So how can we bridge that gap for recreation, and especially with trout fishing? How can we bridge that gap, and when people are going by roads and making it clear? I'd like to really see some improvement in there, as well as our Trempealeau lake lots, since that is land that we already own, and that doesn't have any use. So what are some things that we can do this year that can help those lots, and picnicking, possible shelter reservations, or possible canoe and kayak launch if we communicate with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, are all possibilities out there.
Can we put some picnic tables out there?
I know there was work done on this last year, talk communications with the town of Trempealeau or village of Trempealeau.
Yep.
Yeah, we can only use it for day use.
Right, but I don't know, I don't think we ever heard where those conversations.
Reach out to Bridget, because she's the county
we got written feedback, I think we did, from the town, and we can only use it for day use, picnicking, walking, no overnight camping. We pulled up all the electric that was out there.
So those are all conversations that Reed and Mike had.
Yep.
The record keeping's not real good on that. Since Reed left and before Jack came, I've had some conversations with Isaac Pooler, the city administrator down there. Jack has also met with Isaac, and this idea of what we do with the 3 lakes lots is going to continue to evolve, because I want to make sure that we should be operating as small parks.
Absolutely.
And do whatever we can there, even if it is just putting out picnic tables, maybe putting in some interpretive signing, a simple shelter, maybe it's not fully enclosed, but provide some protection from the elements.
When was the last time that area flooded? Like 3 years ago? Last year?
Yeah, it floods every year.
Yeah.
Just as a tidbit of history on some of those lake lots too, we pretty much can only use them for open use requirements. I was part of dealing with FEMA and certifying some audits with how we purchase those. So just to,
yeah, we've
had
had so many conversations about that. They go back to when Kevin Lee was here. We were dealing.
They go back to 2010 at least, when I was dealing with them. So.
Right.
So let's try and get Jack through his work plan. I think we're going to have to skip the park priority needs till next month, because that's going to be a whole nother long discussion.
Yeah, that's a big.
The discussion of CapEx money.
Yeah, I want to give something an update on that quick before.
Okay.
So moving on with the water trail. the Trempealeau River Water Trail is something I'm looking into. I've seen the work that the intern did in the past, work that's been done for the water trail. It's a big project and something that I don't think is attainable this year, but I would like to work with the conservation clubs of Trempealeau County, which are all those rod and gun clubs, kind of put into one group. Maybe that's a group. I have a meeting with them, I think, on the 23rd of February. Maybe that's a group that can help us with the maintenance and updates for that trail. But we are kind of looking into what the possibilities for that water trail might be.
Could we?
Hopefully by the end of the year, there'll be 3 new canoe landings in the area. There'll be one in Whitehall. The Rod and Gun Club just bought a piece of property here by Club
I've been working
186.
with Mike on that.
And then the third one is be at Petrick Park because we were allocated DNR money on that one.
And I think the recreation boating facilities grant, they had wanted to do Knowles Nelson possibly, and I talked to someone from the DNR and they recommended recreation boating facilities for canoe and kayak launch for that location. That's what I was gonna forward that message on to the club when I met with them.
Would it be appropriate to come back to this next month?
Yeah, definitely.
I apologize, but I do need to be gone in 10 minutes, and I want to hear a little bit more about the CapEx, and this is really important, but since we have this now, we can read it and come back to the meeting with some hopefully intelligent questions next month.
I want to say I like could you just breeze through your top 7 priorities?
Sure. Park priorities. Obviously, the 2 big projects are the Rec Pond and Bridge, so we're going to be focusing on SRS Consulting, making sure those are done to the needs of what's needed for the park. New park design elements are kind of a part of that as well, so that big project is kind of at the top of our head. But as I touched on earlier, improving online and on-site campsite organization, better signage, clearer, bigger, doing the best we can this year and moving forward. Working with UW Extension and other groups to offer outdoor education and programming at Petrick Park, and then doing my part into making sure that reservation for the lower shelter and Kloss are seamless and people are happy with how those reservations are going. Improving signage at the park, definitely, as well as our rec areas. They are very outdated, and I do not like the layout of our current disc golf course, so I'm going to have to do some looking into with the Eagle Scout that did that project, and I would like to revamp the disc golf course. We have some land on the other side of the river that we're going to look to develop. Maybe that could be mountain biking trails. Maybe those can be snowshoe trails. Maybe we can incorporate disc golf back there. There's a lot of areas we can do stuff. So
I feel like I feel so bad, Jack, that we're having to cut you off, but I'm like totally impressed with what you're doing and how you're reaching out to the community and you've only been here a short time.
Thank you.
I think it's awesome, and I'm sorry that
No, you're good. We'll touch more next
you're
month.
good. And the ADRC only meets every other month, so maybe we should start our meeting at 8. That's a suggestion for future discussion. I just have to say one thing about CapEx dollars. This whole committee supported the money go to the park. Exec finance, the entire exec finance committee supported it. We get to the full board. My committee said nothing, exec finance said nothing, and no decision was made on how the money. So I just want people to know I felt like the rug was ripped under our feet because we had all this support and then no support at the full board meeting.
Let me just jump in and make a few comments here so we can.
Okay. I just want to
Yeah,
say,
I mean, there was a good discussion at county board in January. What I was sort of unaware of, the extent of, was how much money there was originally that the county got and the process that was used. And so Jeannie and I met with Pat Malone because Jeannie and Pat were very intimately involved with the process that was used last time to distribute
Doreen,
these
were you on the
monies.
committee? Okay.
What I will say is this, is if you go back 10 years, there was a much different landscape in terms of parks. It was still in the county clerk's office. We didn't have our own parks management. We definitely didn't have an outdoor recreation plan or a Petrie Park master plan with, specific ideas of, things that we wanted to do and how much money those would cost. What I handed out here was a list of all the requests that came in. The ones in black got funding of one amount or another. The ones in red didn't get any money. And if you look, and I put these into a spreadsheet because I wanted to see what it added up to. There was $6.7 million in requests for $1.4 million of money. And now what we're talking about, just to put it in perspective, is $160,000. It's the final payment of CapEx dollars to the county for that transmission line project. And, again, it's going to be up to the county board to decide, where that money should go. I mean, my recommendation would be put it into the parks budget and let us use it for things at Petrie Park, because we're trying to build that into a regional, a regional park that everybody in the county can use and have reasons to want to go use it to. But it's not my decision, it's the county board's decision.
It might be DOA, I hate to say, when it gets.
Well, that's the discussion that's gonna be happening later this month. All I'm saying is, $160,000 can make a big difference in terms of what we can do at Petrie Park. Rec pond, building a bridge, upgrading playground equipment. I certainly would be really disappointed if the park didn't get any of that money. And so, there's just not much of it's not a lot to go around.
We've already had a request. You thought about $35,000. The guy who emailed us was $40,000. So that leaves the park with $90,000. And the word is out there, so everybody wants to get this money.
But we've also got, go ahead, Don.
I feel like I need to understand this better.
Yep.
The $160,000 is on top of the already 1.409 million.
1.4 million we got 10 years ago and spent it. This was
so
sort of some closeout.
So this is on top of that.
We should have gotten that 160 10 years ago and we didn't get it, and we just got it in November.
Perfect. Now, there are limitations to what this can be spent on. And I know you
I
mentioned
read them.
you mentioned them early. Is there somewhere that I can go out and look at that?
I've got some information.
I just want to
I've got some
review it
information
before the
I
next
can
board
get to.
meeting.
You want to? I give you a copy, but it's the only one I have.
I've got some information I can
You
get
can go to Wisconsin. It came from the Department of Administration's how this money was filtered out through Xcel Energy. It was to mitigate the environmental damages that were done when those massive power lines were built. And it was to, as I read, support the park, wetland programs, things that were destroyed. You can go to the statutes. This is where it is under. And it's called the Environmental Impact Fee Program. High voltage transmission line environmental impact fee distributions. If you just Google that, it
definitely doesn't come up under CapEx.
No, that was specific to that. That was the name of that part of that project. Yeah.
And Jeannie, I don't think you're right in saying that you didn't get support there. Committee support, but when it was brought up in front of the whole board, which is almost all new, and didn't have any recollection of really how all that went through.
Right.
So it's only their job to question it and send it back. And
right,
really,
and it was 10 years ago when we did this.
Right, so they weren't aware of exactly how it all went, and so they didn't want to make a decision that night because they were not up to speed on what you had to spend it on, what you didn't.
Right.
So I think support was there, it's just.
I felt support from my people that are at this table, but I got nothing from exec finance when all 5 of them approved the request to have the money funded.
I've done quite a bit of research. I'm still working on it. The plan is that this will be back on the county board agenda this month in a couple weeks. And I want to walk the board through the whole process of here's how much money we got, here was the process, there's actually an application, you know, that was
An RFP
distributed.
was sent
There was
out.
a scoring system, all of that stuff. And just so people are aware, because, you know, what impressed me about this, or what struck me, is this was a lot of money that got distributed by the county, by Trempealeau County, to a lot of what looked to be really good projects. And you want to know something? I've seen some of these projects. I don't even see any acknowledgement, like with signage or, you know, whatever, that they ever got money from Trempealeau County.
And Trempealeau got a lot.
So,
Projects got a lot.
It really came from Xcel Energy, we just distributed it.
Right.
Well, yeah, but we
We
could
didn't have to,
we
though.
could have
Right.
used this money on our own initiatives.
No, we couldn't, boy, they had
No,
strict rules on how
No,
it was
we could have
spent.
used it on our eligible initiatives.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
is there some website that I can go out to look at the detail of this, so at the next county board meeting when questions come up, I can speak?
I don't know, but
Let me look for you. I think if we,
That way,
I'll
if you have
look while
any
you talk.
naysayers, we can say, hey, you know there'll be some, good or bad, so.
But
I think the park should get every penny, and you already know that.
Yep.
When I'm looking at the dollars that were spent, this is very valuable. I don't see that we actually used any of it. Trumbull County itself.
no, there is one.
Okay, county.
It was 73,000, I think. But I don't know what we used that on.
Okay.
The records are a little,
The records are really clear, you can get them from Stacy, but how we, when you had some of the, how we got this money to people is they had matching funds, you know, like the thing at, the refuge, they had matching funds to help build the education center. You couldn't build the education center for $450,000, but they would send bills. Okay, we've spent $10,000 on this, and then we would pay them. So when you look at the printout that Stacy has for every penny that was spent and what it was spent on, it's like this thick of pages, and you have to go through and go through, but you can see where every penny went.
Well, yeah, there's a good paper trail.
There is a really good, we had to have a good
It
paper
was just
trail
that
for
there's
this.
no acknowledgement that some of these facilities that got the money, that should have said, well, thank you for the CapEx money that made this possible.
And maybe in your department, there's not good documentation of what this was spent on, but we could get it from Stacy, and maybe it doesn't.
I mean, you know, parks, the 73,000 that it said went to park improvements, we don't have records of that. We can ask them and see if they have records of
It
what
would
that
be
money
in-
went to. It's kind of a moot point.
It is sort of, but I do think putting together a PowerPoint to guide that discussion at the next board meeting would be super helpful.
That would definitely
That's
help
what I'm
the
doing.
full,
Yeah.
And then like I said, I just wanna be able to support it. I do believe that money should go to the park, if you want me to be completely honest. But I need to understand, we do understand the other people who are interested in that money, and we need to be able to at least speak intelligently
And
about.
this is also why I made the offer that I did to you, Emery, as well as, you know, the Village of Trempealeau project, is, you know, this 160,000, even if the county board says, we're gonna put that all into a competitive grant process, there'd be $2 million in requests for $160,000.
Well, sure.
And stuff, and the better bet is if a community's really got a good project, and they've got maybe some money to put into it too, to be looking at the grant stuff, because there's a lot of grant programs. And, you know, I've been involved with writing 3 successful grants now in the last year, and I'm more than happy to, you know, share some of that knowledge and expertise and advocacy with groups to make some of these things happen. I feel like that's part of my job.
Dawn, I'm sending you a link. There's a wonderful website which tells how much money each town continues to get.
So they're continuing to get ongoing funds from.
Yes.
They have impact payments.
But the Village of Trempealeau does not. The town of Trempealeau and town of Caledonia, I believe, do, and maybe a little bit of the town of Gale.
I don't know if those are forever or just a certain amount of time.
It's forever, as I understand.
There is, but it depends how they set it up, yeah.
But his royalty was for longevity.
Right, that
So
I-
Town of Trempealeau, just as an FYI, some of you may know this, they're, I think, having a meeting this week or next week to talk about, they want to develop a park, 5-acre park out behind the town hall. And they're gonna be using their own CapEx monies to do that.
They already have a huge community park going.
They get that one,
A
yeah.
couple $1 million.
Now, you're talking about the village of Trempealeau, this is a different,
The town of Trempealeau gets $5,290 a year.
how much?
$5,290
Town of
a
Trempealeau?
year. Galesville gets 25,000.
City of Galesville does?
Does it?
I tried to copy this and send it to you, but it
Alright.
wasn't working.
Does it say where we can spend the money on? Okay.
Yeah, I read that to you.
I know that you read it to me.
All right,
Does it say that?
I think we need
I
to
don't
try
know,
to
there's
wrap
like-
it up.
There's
Jeannie,
a lot of
you got
pages, I
other-
haven't read this.
Jeannie, we're done, it's
There's-
10:30,
okay.
I mean, I wanna get to those people. Wait.
If you go up to Paul's office, he has this, he can give you a copy of it. Or you can look it up in the statutes.
It's a statute, okay, got it.
It's 16.969, paragraph
Yeah,
4.
hey, Judy, can we wrap it up?
Sub
Thank you, Lori.
3,
You're a buzz.
paragraph, sub 3B.
Motion
Hello?
to adjourn.
A motion, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.